Hey everyone, this is Taylor. She works with ROC United, so I'm always in contact with her. Anytime you guys ask me any questions or anything, I am always talking to her and asking her questions because she knows more than I do. So, hello Taylor, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so I was telling them that we want to talk about the OSHA regulations, the heat regulations, as far as working in the restaurant because I'm sure a lot of people have worked in a very hot environment in the restaurant. I know that when I worked at Chili's, we didn't have AC for like a year, and especially during the summer was really bad. And I had one of my coworkers pass out from the heat, and she ended up having to go to the hospital. The ambulance came and took her to the hospital. And let's not talk about the fact that like the GM kind of like pushed my coworker away from reporting that. He was just like really angry with her for like wanting to report it. And I was like, you should 100% report this and get workers comp. You passed out on the job because of the heat because there was no AC in Florida in the summer.
Dude.
So definitely these regulations like need to change because this is not okay.
Yeah, and like speaking to that as well, like he doesn't sorry, I'm like already tripping on my words. But anyway, heat illness is actually one of the top illness weather related injuries that actually happen to workers in our country. And this is something that we don't have a regulation on currently, but this is now our opportunity. So with Restaurant Opportunity Center, if you go to our page, we have where you can submit a public comment. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is accepting comments on them implementing a heat rule that would protect workers from, you're in a kitchen, it's super hot, especially in the summer. If you get sick from that or it reaches a certain degree, you can report your workplace and they'll have to fix that. So that's something that's a huge deal right now because this is the first time it's ever happening. So,
Yeah, definitely. Like if you guys are on here and you guys have any stories about what's happened, when it comes to that, please send a guest request so we can talk to you because we definitely want to hear your stories. And if you don't want to be on camera, then just go to the Rock site and what was the link for it?
So it's in our bio. If you go to Restaurant Opportunity Center's TikTok bio, it's also rockunited.org slash OSHA heat rule. Again, it's a long link, but you can go to our page and see it. Or if you text ROC to 40817, text us there. We can respond back and send you that link right away. But yeah, you can share your story of like your worst heat experience. I know that's not fun to relive, but this is the moment to talk about that. These are the real things that you're dealing with in your workplace that the government actually has an opportunity to protect you from and make sure
Yeah.
that.
It's crazy that we have to go through these lengths just to, not be passing out and being in these horrible working conditions. Like this is the country we live in that we really have to go through all this just to not be passing out from how hot it is at work.
Yeah, and it's the that it's taken this long, the fact that like now we're coming on years of like every summer's getting hotter, especially if you go more north in the country where it usually isn't as like extreme summers. It's going to get worse. We need these protections. We needed them earlier, but we need them now more than ever pretty much.
Yeah, somebody said I had a coworker fall on the line at Chili's from the heat. I mean, I don't know how the cooks do it. Even when the AC is working, I'm like, how are you guys cooking back here? It is so hot. Like wearing these heavy chef coats and then being over the stove and fire or whatever. I'm like, I don't know how these people do it and how they don't pass out. They're like just drenched in sweat all the time.
Exactly. And they're on their feet all day. It's like, again, like they might not have eaten an hour. It's just like humans really aren't built to like be machines and be doing that in those temperatures as well. Like computers get better protections for heat. When they overheat, we're like, we don't want that. But like workers, we almost like don't think about it at all, which is
Literally, like what I just said, my phone was overheating and I had to like put the fan on for it to not overheat. So obviously, and that's a phone. So yeah, of course it's gonna happen. I remember the cooks at Applebee's would be complaining and the managers would just shrug it off. Yeah, that's literally how it always is. I mean, I remember when our AC would partially work, because we had two AC units and it would be half the restaurant, half the restaurant. They would make sure that at least the AC was working for the cooks because they'd be like passing out. But the front of house servers, oh, they can just pass out. It's fine. They'll be fine. And I used to complain all the time. My manager actually used to turn the AC off even if it was working just because he wanted to save on the electricity bill. And
That's
I was dying. I would be in the freezer trying to cool off. And I'm like, you gotta turn the AC on. And he's like, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. Like, you're sitting in your office completely fine. I'm running around. I need the AC on. I'm going to pass out. And he's just like wanting to save money on the power bill, which I think is another reason why it took so long to get the AC fixed. And he would be like, oh, well, we have to talk to the city. There's a lot of stuff. And it's like 10 grand to get a new AC unit. I'm like, I don't give a shit how much it costs, fix it. Like, where'd I hear? And then they just got fans and put it all over the restaurant. And I'm like, this is ghetto. Who wants to eat in the middle of summer Chili's with freaking fans around? Like, God, it was
just
so
like
embarrassing.
contaminated air just like everywhere. And that's
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the like cost of like, you know, if you want to save workplace for your workers, you can't just have them like dying of heat stroke just to cook like burgers for people. You know, the guests, they're going to respond to their complaints about the temperatures, but when it's workers, it's
yeah. Oh yeah. They don't care about the servers. Okay, let me see what people are saying. They wouldn't allow them to even take breaks properly. At Applebee's, you're required to waive your break to clock in as a server. And if you said no, they would send you home. Which actually, Chili's was like that too here. And then the Melody said, thankfully for that 1 week, we were allowed to have water bottles in the bakery instead of tap water.
oh
It's
wow.
like, I don't understand. They act like we're just so beneath anyone.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like free water to get through it, which don't get
yeah.
me hydrated, but you also need fed, you need like the breaks, you just need to be out of the heat. You just can't be in that like environment for a prolonged period. And restaurants, like, they don't give you those shifts the same way that like retail does or hourly does.
Oh my God, lukewarm tap water, as if that's gonna help. We had an employee literally have an asthma attack from how hot it was and had to call an ambulance. So this is actually my friend Carmen. We worked at the same Chili's. I was just telling the story. So see, as you can see, I didn't make it up. It's true. She did actually pass out. And the temp never changed. It was business as usual. And actually, when that happened, I remember that she got taken away with the ambulance, and there was only one other server. It was just two of them that were working that day. And so the other server came back to her tables and let everybody know, hey, just as you can see, Chili's is all windows. So as you can see, here's the ambulance. Your server passed out from the heat. She had to leave, and they were like, we don't care, we're on our lunch break, where's our food? I'm like, oh my God, I hate people so much.
Oh my God. It's just like ridiculous. It's just like labor from especially service industry workers is definitely undervalued right now. And like we're seeing that like in these instances, like it's more of an inconvenience to a lot of people, especially like management too, because it's like they view this as like something that they just have to deal with now, or they lobby against even having to do this kind of work to put in. So
Yeah,
this is these workers though to speak up and let OSHA know we want these rules, we want to be protected. If we're gonna kind of get through these next few years of we don't know what our industry is like. Already workers are leaving because things suck, but this is our chance to make things a little better for each other.
exactly. I was just pre-filming some videos before we got on this live, and I was saying that, like, people's answer to these issues are, well, get another job. How is that your answer? Just get another job. First of all, there are issues like this in every industry. This isn't just in the restaurant industry. This is just something that we're focusing on. Second of all, telling people to get another job. As you can see during the pandemic, a lot of servers did get another job. And now, I mean, in service industry, Starbucks are closing up by 3 p.m. because they don't have the staff. Restaurants are closing down because they don't have the staff. They're switching to go because they don't have the staff. And people are just like, we'll get another job. And I'm like, okay. And then when we do get another job, you complain that you can't go get your favorite meal because it's closed because we got another job. Like, you guys, we have to make a change. We can't just tell people to just get another job. Exactly. Getting another job does not fix the problem. It does not. It just prolongs the problem and keeps it going. And people, The issue that I have with a lot of people in the service industry is that they don't follow through with reporting things because they can just get another job when the service industry, you're a dime a dozen. Oh, you can just get another job. It's not a big deal. So they don't want to go through the process of having to report any issues because it's too much work, or so they
Mhm.
think. And I've reported stuff, and it's really not that much work. If you want to make a change and you want things to be in places to be held accountable, you have to go through the process so that things can happen. But the mentality of everyone being like, get another job and oh, well, it's not going to change, that is what has kept us in this issue and the problems that we're having and has led us to where we are today because nobody wants to stand up and do something because everybody's too lazy and then they just go get another job. Or they started as teenagers and were exploited and brainwashed into thinking that's just how it is. Exactly. It was especially with a lot of our parents who grew up in, the me generation where, well, that's just what it is, pick you up by your bootstraps, just keep going. Like, oh, well, life's not fair. And it's like, okay, well, you're the issue because we can just change it. Like, we created this. Let's just change it.
Yeah, no, like, well, first of all, bootstrap, it's physically impossible to pick yourself up from your bootstrap. Like, there's just no, like, you can't, like, it's already a useless saying. It's like, first of all, it's like old
You're like, where
people,
did this analogy come from? It does not make sense.
right? And also, yeah, like, you're right. Like, workers, when they do, it is, there's times where I have quit jobs because, I was looking out for my own mental health and stuff. And that, people can make those calls. But it is also important to know that, like, when you quit your job, you lose the leverage to make changes that could be better, not just for yourself, but also the people who are going to be there afterwards. Because when you quit, that management's just going to move on to the next worker. They're going to keep doing what they do because it's just cheaper for them to just run through people as if they're machines and not actual people. And this is why we're in the situation we're in. People are just going to now start leaving and just keep moving, and nothing's going to improve unless we come together, improve where we are currently, whether it's through these regulations like the heat rule or within our own workplaces. If you want to organize, unionize, maybe it is like, filing a complaint. If you're missing wages, like, don't just like be upset and leave. Like, claim those wages, get that money back. Like, that shows your employer that this isn't something they can just keep getting away with.
Yeah. So if people have had their wages stolen, so I'm doing right now the series with your guys' slides of the seven wage theft that hurt restaurant employees. How can they go about reporting that so that they can get their money back?
So it depends on what state you're. So there's the U.S. Federal Department of Labor. If you go to their website, there's actually a website. It's called worker.gov, and it actually has an option if you're dealing with wage theft, dealing with hourly issues, dealing with retaliation, or even OSHA. If you go there, they have this really nice web page that you can kind of find what you need to report and where to report to. But the Department of Labor, you can file with their wage and hour division that your wages are stolen. If you think they are being stolen, and this includes tips too, if you think your tips are being stolen, keep as much evidence as you can. Keep your pay stubs, like, write down numbers, keep track, like, even in a like journal the tips you're taking home, because that's evidence you can use to be like, hey, I'm not getting the money I should be getting. You can report with the wage and hourly division with the U.S. Department of Labor. Every state has their own Department of Labor you can file with as well, and depending on what city you're in, they might also have their own department that can go back and get those back wages for you as well.
Yeah. And it's becoming even harder now to really keep track of that now that a lot of restaurants have switched to putting your tips on a paycheck. I mean, at least back in the day when you got your tips at the end of the night, you knew what your tips were and you got cash and you walked out and you were good. Now with everything going on a paycheck, there's a lot of shady
Mm-hmm.
that could be done. Actually, when I first moved to San Diego, I worked at a restaurant that was extremely shady, and the GM got caught where and he's still working there, but he got caught where he had skimmed everybody's paychecks of hundreds of dollars. Like I ended up getting money back. I mean, the whole staff ended up having to get all this money back, and it wasn't because I don't know, it wasn't like a corporation. So it was because the cooks were suspicious of him and they noticed, like, hey, I've worked here for 10 years and I know what my paycheck is. And all of a sudden my paycheck is missing $800. So where is my money? So we ended up, everybody got together and like, called it out or whatever. And he's like, oh, that's so weird. I don't know what happened. And he had to like make out personalized checks to everybody to get this money back. And what sucks was like with a place like that, we didn't have an HR, we didn't have anybody to report stuff to. So it was very messy. There's a lot that went on there, but that was one of the issues. And I mean, yeah, like I said, like if he's the one doing the paychecks, which I know managers do because I've had, my managers call me and be like, hey, you didn't clock out this day. I need this for your pay stub, blah, blah, for your payroll. They can make a mistake easily. And whether it's on purpose or not on purpose, it still happens. So we do need to be on top of how much money we're making and tracking that. When you clock out, keep your clock out slips. So you know how many hours you worked and what you should be getting paid for because they will find, not saying that it's on purpose, but some of them will do it on purpose anyway to, skim anything from the top kind of thing. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that too is a few months back we were also part of like a campaign for side work. So there's actually another regulation kind of similar to what we're doing with OSHA, but it's the amount of time that you're spending on side work as a tipped worker. If you're making less than the federal minimum wage or taking a tip credit, there's a bunch of language to describe, but pretty much sub minimum wage, if you're relying on tips as your income as like a restaurant worker, you can't be spending more than 20% of your time on side work. And a lot of employers actually get away with stealing money from employees because they have them doing hours of side work. They're mopping, they're cleaning bathrooms, they're doing things that actually they should hire a cleaning crew to do. But instead of they're having these workers who are only being paid a couple bucks an hour to do it. That's wage theft, and that's something also you can report your boss for. If
okay.
you have,
So I actually did get, sorry to cut you off. I actually did get
okay,
tagged in a video, last night or this morning about I'll have to send it to you of a girl that got fired for knowing her rights. And she told them, hey, they were having a meeting and she was like, what is this meeting about? It's up, on TikTok for whoever listening to this. And she said, what's this meeting about? They said, oh, well, we need more from you guys. Like you guys need to focus more on your side work. You need to focus more on cleaning and everything. And she said, okay, well, if you're gonna, I already do my side work and I already do what I'm supposed to. So if you're gonna expect more from me, I'm going to expect more from you. You guys are violating a lot of health codes here, so you guys need to get on top of it and fix this stuff. And like, it was just like, how dare you call us out on these issues? And she also said, and also, if you want me to spend more time on side work, legally, I can't spend over, 30 minutes, or whatever, because that is the rule when it comes to side work. Like you said, 20% of your time or whatever. I think it was like 20% of your shift or like 30 minutes. I think it was something like that, right? And
yeah,
so,
and then or like if you do 30 minutes, anything beyond that 30 minutes will be you have to then be paid like a full minimum wage. You can't just
so
be
that's
paid a
exactly what she told them. She said, past the 30 minutes, you guys have to pay me full minimum wage if you want me to spend longer on side work. And they ended up firing her. So that's obviously retaliation for her knowing her rights because she told them like this isn't okay. You guys have to do this. And people in the comments were telling her to, of course, it's wrongful termination. It's to still report it to the health department so that they can come and check things because obviously she said they were violating health codes. So I should definitely make a video about that. The other thing I was gonna say was when you said you don't have to be cleaning bathrooms and stuff like that. I actually just pre-filmed a video about a story that happened to me at Olive Garden. I had a lady that ate so much that she started convulsing and having a seizure and threw up all over herself and all over the table and the floor. And we ended up having to call 911 and she got taken away. But I was like, and guess who cleaned it? Not me, because that is above your pay grade. That is not your job as a server or even a buster or a cook. And they always try to get these people to clean up these messes when it is a biohazard. It's a biohazard material that we are not trained to clean up properly. Therefore, the managers are supposed to do that because they get paid enough to be doing this and they're supposed to be properly trained on how to clean up these bodily fluids that we're not supposed to be touching. So that's definitely something that I don't think a lot of people know. I remember I was dating a guy and he was a buster and he was like, they were trying to make me clean up like this mess in the bathroom. I was like, absolutely not. That is not your job as a buster to do. I know they're going to tell you that it is, but you're actually not trained to handle this biohazard material. So you cannot be touching it. That has to be the manager's job. And so he told them the next time and they were like, oh, okay. Like they will try to take advantage of you any way that they can.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing is like a lot of these like, especially like the bigger corporations, you know, like Brinker or Darden, they also pay lobbyists to fight this stuff. So actually, the side work we put into effect, they're trying to, you know, slow it down, keep it from happening, because to them, that's like, you know, they want to keep paying these workers low wages to keep doing this work. That saves them so much money. But at the same time, workers are not getting enough money to like survive and pay for their own, you know, livelihoods. They're not getting the benefits they need. They're barely, if any, sick days at all. So it's just like the amount of crap that corporations just put on their workers for as little pay, and the amount they fight to get out of paying their workers is just ridiculous.
So with the side work, has it passed? So was she in the right to say that?
So it's in effect, and the 80-20 rule, the 30-minute part was actually like an actual like addition to what used to exist before. When Trump came into office, his administration worked to reverse that. So there was kind of like this limbo of, does the 80-20 rule exist? But this was kind of bringing it back. But it's kind of like in this weird limbo again, if it's back in the courts. I believe it was like in Southern Texas or wherever Austin is. That's the court that's kind of like challenging it. But for the most part, it's still, you know, workers should still really know this right and kind of like stick to it. If you have questions or still feel like you're being, you know, losing money due to like so much side work, even though you're a tipped worker, still reach out to us. There's we can hook you up and still make sure you get connected to the Department of Labor.
Yeah, definitely. So you're saying that that part is still like
It's
trying to be passed,
I'll have to
the
double
30.
check. I'm not a lawyer, so I think it's like in this limbo of like, I think that's like still the rule workers should still think to and follow, and kind of like, you know, use it like, hey, I'm aware of my rights. This exists. Yeah, it's being challenged, but I'd say like still reach out to the Department of Labor. I know some other there were workers in Nashville, I believe now it's been like 2 years, but they won a case where one of the issues was excessive side work. And I think it was $1 million were paid out to workers collectively in a class action. So they got their money back, but that's how much they were getting away with it. We're having so many
Oh
workers.
yeah. And actually, I think that happened at Olive Garden. I remember after I left, it changed to where the bussers had to do all of the side work because the servers were doing too much side work and weren't getting paid properly for it. But the bussers, because they were making minimum wage, they changed it to them having to do all the side work. And I was like, what? What about when I was there? I still had to do all that.
Right. Speaking
So
of busser, or I guess you go ahead.
no, yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
I was gonna say, speaking of bussers, and not to like talk trash on them, I used to be a food runner, very good one, probably like 2 or 3 years. Let's talk about the food runners going on at Chili's. Do you want to give kind of background of what's been going on?
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna start saying. So okay, so what happened at Chili's is something that I've talked about since when did I move to California? So it was like I made videos about it back in September of 2020 when once I got hired. And I talked about how the tip out is so high here. I went from tipping out 1% in Florida to just the bar, to tipping out 5.5% in California. And that I took a huge hit on my tips. I mean, I was walking out with like less money than I was tipping out. So I was tipping out more than I was walking home with because of how high the tip out percentage is at Chili's. Now, part of that was because 3% of my tips were going to the back of house, the cooks, because of the law that changed it, you know, with the Trump administration. But I know that not every state does that because not every state pays everybody minimum wage. So speaking of, if you guys are in a state that, you know, your restaurant takes a tip credit where it means that you are a tipped employee, the server is a tipped employee, and you're making below minimum wage, you cannot be tipping the cooks who are making minimum wage or above. That is illegal. So just make sure you know that and, you know, report it or whatever. Text ROC to 4817 if that's happening in your state. But even though that's not happening in every state because not every state is tipping out the back of house, they still bumped up the tip out percentage to about 4 to 5%, which is still a very huge jump from 1%, because they implemented a new runner system. And this runner system is so a lot of, I guess they're just using the servers and taking away their serving shifts to make them food runners. And they're just having the, essentially what you do is the server goes to the table and now you have this like iPad tablet that you're taking the order on. They don't let you really use the POS anymore. You have to have a manager swipe if you want to use the computer. So you have this tablet and you have to put in your order through it. And it's really not that beneficial as much as Brinker wants to think it is, to be honest. One, they break down all the time. Two, they're not always fully charged. And three, people change their mind. Okay. People don't always just order exactly what they want. You walk away, or even after you just hit send, they go, actually, I changed my mind. I think I'm just going to do the chicken salsa instead of the soup. And now the runner is getting the runner has already gotten the order in the back saying that they wanted, the soup. So they're making the soup. And now I have to be like, okay, well, now I can't do anything about it. Now we got to wait. Now I got to tell the runner, actually, they don't want that. They want chips and salsa. And by the time I can even get back there, they're already out at the table with the food. So it's so messy. So the thing is that you have this tablet and you're putting in like, okay, you want a Diet Coke. I hit Diet Coke, hit send. In the back of the house, in the kitchen, there is a screen where the orders are coming in and the runner is seeing the orders come in. So the runner's like, okay, Diet Coke, makes you the Diet Coke. And while you're still there, you're like, okay, did you want to start off with an appetizer? And the runner has already come to the table with the Diet Coke. So that in Brinker's head, it's like, okay, we are consolidating steps. We are making it so much more efficient for the server so that they're not running around doing a million things. They have this extra help of a runner that's already doing the work for them. And because of this, they think, oh, well, now they can take more tables. Also not true. So you have that, and then you're like, okay, so do you want an appetizer? And then that's when they're like, yeah, I'll have the Texas cheese fries, and you go, Texas cheese fries, hit send. And then they're like, oh, I forgot to say no bacon. And you're like, okay, now I can't fix the issue right now. Like, now I have to leave the table and then come back. And it's like adding so many unnecessary steps. So it's really not as seamless and as helpful as Breaker thinks it is, but they did not consult anybody on this. I'm gonna assume maybe they did. I mean, of course, it was already happening in California. It's been happening apparently for forever, as far as people have told me that have lived in California, because they were always making minimum wage, everybody. And oh, it's cool, whatever, but I don't know if, I guess because it was test ran in California and it seemed like it was fine. I don't think that it was fine. I think it was just that people never spoke up against it or didn't know the difference between what it could be or what it couldn't be. You know what I'm saying? It's like you only know what you know. So you don't think there's anything wrong with the system. But in the places like with me, where I came from a place that I didn't have that and I could just go to the computer, or I could scratch out, oh, never mind, I don't want this, I want this. Okay, that gives me time to fix all the orders, go over all the orders, and then I can go and put it in the computer, and then I can go and run my food. Not a big deal. I mean, sure, you were very overworked because they did overwork you there, but at least it wasn't as messy as it is now, and you weren't losing out on money. Now with the new runner system, they are having you pretty much split your tips with the runner that you didn't ask for because you were fine with running your own food. But now they put in this runner system. They took away serving shifts from people. People aren't making as much money. And then they're just like, okay, well, this is the new job. Now you're losing out on an extra 4% of your tips, which, by the way, this is based on sales, not on tips. So if you get stiffed, you're paying out of pocket to this food runner that you didn't ask for and you don't actually need. So servers are very, very upset right now because they are losing out on so much money. I mean, I've gotten messages about it. I know that you've gotten messages about it. If you have any like stories that people have told you, like, please feel free to share.
I mean, almost like the same story every time, but every time it comes up, it's like, oh, we have this new system now at Chili's, and they're, everyone's like, hey, Chili heads, have this happen, and it's like slowly, like I'd say since you've talked about it over the fall, you just hear it trickling in of more stories of it happening, and like the issue, I'm not sure what the issue is. I'm not Brinker, but it's like you're seeing these places, like maybe it started in California, but now you're in the states that have tip credits. So they might not be tipping out back a house worker, but these are workers who are making less than minimum wage, also having to do this. And then they're paying a food runner who is also making less than minimum wage. So it's like Brinker's not paying these workers the full wages they should be doing to even do this work to begin with. Maybe if they paid a food runner like a fuller wage and then took less of the tips from servers could keep more of their money. The servers should also make more money on top of that, but ultimately it just seems like a way of just getting out of like, I don't know, just like not paying anyone, but at least spreading out the labor and just making it, I don't know, easier for management, or at least like having better numbers in terms of like hiring. But it's just like everyone we're hearing from, it just doesn't sound like they've wanted it. But I will say with this like hearing so many people not like being okay with it, I think you're all the majority, and I think this is your opportunity to use that. Like so many people are speaking out. Like I'm not hearing like, oh, this has been efficient or working well. Like I think using your collective power to say, this doesn't work for us, we're not making the money we need. If so many of you spoke up about it, I think that could be something that would at least get Chili's and Brinker's attention. I know this has happened at other workplaces. Corporate campaigns are hard to pull off. It's a lot of workers to coordinate. But I think if they see it's not coming from just one location, but everywhere, that'll at least start ringing some bells in their ears, if that's a metaphor. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually got tagged in somebody's video that just quit Chili's, and that was one of the issues too. And I was like, oh my God, please join my live on Thursday. But she said that her and her boyfriend actually, because I had said, oh, watch my series, and she's like, oh my God, I actually did watch your series a few months back, and it totally took off the rose colored glasses that we had on for this company. We were making decent money, and we just didn't realize how badly run the company was until we started watching your videos, and you really opened up our eyes. And that's when we really started seeing things that were wrong. And we ended up quitting now. And she's like, oh, but we're starting our new job like today while, we're on this live. But she's like, I would love to send you a video with any questions or stories or whatever you want to hear. But yeah, that's exactly the issue where I'm like, okay, so in California, they're doing this because everybody was making minimum wage. But in these states like that, Texas or Florida or whatever, that are making less than minimum wage because you're making server wage, I don't even know how that's legal. Like, how is it legal to just, I mean, I guess because the food runner is also making server wage. So technically it's like, it's okay because it's like, I don't know. It's essentially now just a tip pool. Nobody's like really keeping their tips.
Yeah, and it's like, I think, not to like bring in Starbucks into it, but it's like right now you see all these workers at Starbucks unionizing for the ability to speak up and be like, hey, these mobile orders are killing us, or staffing is killing us, and like being able to be a part of the process and like, explain their frustrations with what's making their job harder. And I think, whether there's like a Chili's union one day, it's like you would have the chance to be like, hey, this food runner system isn't working. Talk to us before you implement this and like piss everyone off.
Right. So I actually did my first episode of my podcast last night, even though I have not published it. And it's about unionizing. So I have this book here. It's called it's going to be inverted, but Reaching Higher. It's a handbook for union organizing committee members, and it literally gives you step by step on how to unionize in the workplace. So I pretty much just like went over this book, and I was like, hey, now you don't got to spend the $30 that I spent on the book to learn how to unionize in the workplace. And I think what a lot of people don't know is that like you are your union, so you have to get it together in your workplace, and then you can get an organizer that can help you. But like really you have to form the union, you have to form the committee. And I think it said it has to be, what is it, 10%, or it should be 10 to 15% of the workforce that is in the committee. So like if you have 30 people at that you work with, you need at least 3 to 5 people. And then if you have 1,000 people, you need 100 people. So like, at Chili's, if there's, I don't know how many employees between, we got to remember like between front of house, back of house, all together, figure out how many people work at your Chili's or whatever your restaurant is if you want to unionize, and get at least 10 to 15%, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not if you think about it, because I'm sure you have a group of people that you're all talking shit about your place and you all hate it. So get these people together and try to form a union. Now, what I wanted to say was, try to bring this up to the attention of your managers first, area director, and corporate. I heard that apparently Brinker Payroll is getting a lot of calls about this new runner system, and they're like, sorry, like we don't know, we just do payroll. So as you can see, like a lot of Chili's employees are really trying to reach out to any person that they can to get this to change because they're like, I'm losing so much money. So I don't think anybody's happy with this, and I would like people to either unionize or we can, start a petition, pass it around the restaurant, and then that way and online, and that way, like Brinker can see that this isn't working. And
Yeah,
then once this falls on deaf ears, because we know it will, what can we do about that?
yeah. I mean, even if it isn't straight going over to like becoming a union, especially at your store, like if you're mad about this right now, reach out to us. We can figure out a strategy that can make sure that Brinker does hear that this isn't working. There's so many of you. Like, I have not seen a positive thing said about it. I'm not saying like, sometimes people who are okay with the systems they're in don't speak up about it. That's why you don't hear it. The loudest noise is those who aren't happy with it. But there are so many of you unhappy with it. And not only that, but also like, this is an opportunity then to talk about what else is wrong at your workplace. Do you not have paid sick days? Did you just have to deal with a COVID outbreak at work? Are you getting breaks at work? Like, what other benefits are you not getting that like you want to see? And start building those conversations, not around just this one issue, but other.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many issues that need to change. Um, I just, I don't, okay. So like, what can we do if we, bring this up to Brinker's attention, do whatever we can, and they just blow us off as they've blown off, everything else? What can we do to make sure that we're heard and that we can make a change?
I mean, it depends. It's like it's up to the workers, like how far they want to go, how much like power they want to use in doing this. So yeah, it could be petitions. It could be like, Matt, like if we really get our shit together, Chili's workers, like, coordinate something bigger that's not just one store, but multiple stores, multiple states, something that really not just gets the attention of Brinker, but gets the attention of diners, customers, the public, other restaurants, other restaurant workers might see this stuff and kind of just like, that's how we kind of build worker power. We see where it is working, what changes are made, and start replicating it. Because I think, as we kind of get older, like there's there's more workers than there are managers. There are more workers than there are just like people up in corporate making money just off the fact that we do the actual labor. So it's like, This is about that.
Yeah, that's what I say all the time. I'm like, we are the 99%. We are bigger than them. We are stronger than them. We just all have to come together as a collective. I think a lot of people are just scared to do something because they're like, well, I need the money. I need money to pay my bills. And at this point, you're not making any money. So what do you have to lose? Like, this is the perfect time to stand up for ourselves and be like, this isn't okay. Absolutely not. I'm not doing this. Like, you guys have got to change this. And as we can see with like the Kellogg strike, I mean, it sucks. Like, so many people got fired for that strike, but people are still striking. And I know, like, I would buy Kellogg's because I would buy Frosted Flakes, and I was at Target and I was like, I can't do it. So I had to like go with a different brand of cereal to, get some cereal because I was like, I will not support them. Like, they need a change. And I think that's what we need to do is like, we could come up with a day that's like, like the May Day strike. So a lot of people are talking about that. If you, don't know about that, there is talks about having, a general strike in May of this year. You guys can join Discord, subreddit, anti-work or May Day strike that talks all about it because we all have to do it. But it's like I'm on the side of TikTok where everybody is thinking the same as me. And I'm like, great, we're all in this. And then it's like you step out into the real world and some people are like, yeah, I'm still going to work and I'm still going to be a little worker bee and a little slave for capitalism. And I'm just like, wake up, people. It's like my favorite movie as a kid was A Bug's Life.
Oh my.
And I saw it again the other day and I was like, of course this would be my favorite movie. Like literally the grasshopper was like, if we let one ant stand up to us, they all stand up to us. They outnumber us by this much. And if they figure it out, we are screwed and we have no food and da-da-da. And I'm like, hello, this was in our faces as children. Like, guys, come on and wake up. That's us right now.
Right. And there's so much, like, I think, like, I don't know, there's so many, like, really good storytelling, like A Bug's Life, or like there's episode, like, I remember there's an episode of Rugrats where the babies take, like, they make all this lemonade, and Angelica's like, she just takes the money from them even though they're making it, and eventually they just stop making lemonade, so then she has to make it and she can't because she just sucks. But like, you know, there's so many
Exactly.
things, like, I think if we start ingraining kind of these thoughts in workers again, and like the collective, like, consciousness of, like, you know, that's the stuff, like, schools aren't teaching that the way they used to, if they ever even were. So it's important to kind of, like, as a worker, or as, like, you know, someone who wants to see kind of things turn around, and I don't know, things aren't going to get better the way that they're going now. So if you want to
No,
be, it's like the chant, I don't know, I'm just like rambling, but yeah.
yeah, things are insane right now. And speaking of schools, I mean, I left a comment on a TikTok that I saw yesterday that now has gone viral, where it was a teacher saying like, our public education system is shit. It's really just babysitting. We're not really teaching anything, you know, we're not like people aren't learning anything. And I commented like I've learned more on TikTok than I did in school. And it's true. I mean, history has been whitewashed and changed so many ways to fit their narrative, and so many things that I didn't learn, like practical things that we should know as humans and people living in this society. We should know, like, the school system took out, you know, home ec and machinery and wood shop and mechanics. They took out so many things that were trades because it's all capitalism, and they just wanted to be us to be slaves to capitalism and never have our own trade and know things and be able to do things on our own. So it's just like it drives me crazy. And ironically enough, I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw a video of a teacher that was crying because there was a school shooting at her school yesterday. And I was like, oh my God, this is like so sad. She was like, tomorrow we're just supposed to go back to business as usual, as if a kid didn't just get shot and we weren't just on lockdown. And I was just like, this is so crazy. And then I got randomly on Facebook, which I'm never on, and I'm scrolling through, and it was at my high school.
Holy
My
shit.
one of my friends commented that her son now goes to that high school and was like, oh, please pray, like there was a school shooting. And I was like, wait, is this the same school? And it was, and it was like all over the news. And I commented like, was this at this high school? That's my high school. And people were like, yeah, it was. And I'm like, this is so crazy. Like I was in ninth grade history class when 9/11 happened at that school. And I remember it was so surreal, and it was like everything just like nobody worked. Like we just went from period to period and talked about the events that were happening at 9/11, whether it was math class, English, whatever. And I'm like, I can't imagine how these students feel. I mean, I was in Florida and it happened in New York and it was a big thing that happened, and now you are in it in a school shooting, and then you're just supposed to keep moving as if nothing happened. Like this country needs so much reform. Like there's so many things that need to change about it, because you don't hear this stuff happening in other countries, which I don't want to get into gun control, but come on. This doesn't happen in other countries. Like this needs to change. Things need to change.
Yeah, no, and like especially too, like teachers aren't paid well either. So they're not only like they're going to unsafe workplaces where there could be shootings, where there's COVID outbreaks. They're not like we're actually seeing teachers organize. They're not showing up, like they're not going to work because they don't feel safe going to work around COVID, but like they're still being sent. So we're not, it's not even just like our industry, just so many industries, like we're just trying to push people back to normal, even though things aren't safe to go back to normal the way they were.
No, they're absolutely not. Like that was a first year teacher. She said she started 6 weeks into the school year, and so many teachers have quit teaching. Like I saw a TikTok of a teacher that was like, "What are you guys gonna do? There's not gonna be any teachers next year. There's just not. Like you guys are pushing us to go to school. Everybody's getting COVID. Everybody's getting sick, and you're underpaying us and undervaluing us. So there's just not gonna be teachers. So good luck next year." And I'm like, I'm so grateful I don't have children, because I'm stressed out for the parents who have to deal with this. This is so bad. And I'm like, the funny thing is that capitalism is crumbling itself. It's eating its own tail. Like, I don't think that this is what they thought would happen when COVID came out into the universe, but here we are. Like, this is the revolution essentially. Like, this is the great resignation. This is what needs to happen for change to happen. I'm happy to be a part of it, but I really, really hope that we can make a change and
Yeah.
come together.
No, for sure. And this is like the opportunity, like, unless we do something, it's just going to keep, like, it's accelerated so fast how quickly, like, the issues we're dealing with, like, I just now turned 30 and I'm like, oh, this was the, I don't know. It's really like, how do you grapple with the stuff that, like, I don't know. This felt like years down the line of like, we've always been warned like climate change is going to like end things sooner than, I don't know. It's just, we've always had these alarms going, but they happen. So it went from like, I felt like I was like doing all right as a server bartender and feeling okay. COVID hit and it's just been like, now it's like 2 years later. And I'm just like,
I can't believe it's been 2 years that we've been in this. And the scary part was when I got COVID, I started having like pain a lot. Like I was crying in the middle of the night from how bad my legs hurt. It was like I don't know if it was restless leg syndrome, but it really felt like somebody was just like stretching my legs out and it hurt so bad. And I was like, you hear these stories about long COVID, and I was like, what if like I don't ever I can't work, standing up because something happens to my legs. And I'm like sitting here thinking, like, I'm a server, like, I need to figure out another job. What am I gonna do? And I was like stressing out. And then I lost my voice. And I was like, what if I don't get my voice back? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I like, speak. What am I gonna do? And it's like it's scary to think about. And I'm like, how are we like, yeah, millennials are, how are we then being younger? How are we doing this? Like I feel like we're so much stronger than people give us credit for, because this has been nonstop disaster after disaster since we were born. I mean, Y2K happened like right away. You're born 10 years later, bam, Y2K, whatever. And it's just like, it just doesn't end. It just keeps going. It's like the crash in 2008 and then 9/11 or whatever. And then it's like, it just doesn't stop. And you're just like, oh my God, can we just get a break?
yeah,
Like, give me, it doesn't end.
things like I think of like generations before us, like, by our age, they own their own house and they had like pensions from their jobs that they could retire to. And it's like, we're just looking down the line of us not having that. And it's just like, if we don't want to have like, you know what I mean? That's like what we have to look forward to. And until we do stuff about that, like, that's, yeah, like we have the chance to at least prevent that from happening as bad as it's going to be.
Yeah.
I
Things
guess
are getting,
I was going to say, kind of bringing it back to like the OSHA heat rule too. I do want to add, it's not just for restaurant workers. It's actually a rule that will affect all workers who work in a workplace. So if you're like, I think it was intended to for like farmers. So if you're outside in a field, like, getting crops and stuff, like those temperatures are going to get hot. I guess like you'll be protected by this like regulation. Same with restaurant workers and kitchens. Teachers, if you're in schools, I know there's not really kitchens in schools, but if temperatures get hot, like, which they probably will, especially in like, so.
yeah, definitely. So if you guys want to write in about, any working conditions, that whatever key conditions in your workplace, please, please, please write in. You can text ROC to what is it, 4080?
40817.
0817. And
Yeah.
then we can give you the info and everything. But yeah, I think that we've covered everything.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're a restaurant worker or a Chili's worker, I guess you're both if you work for Chili's. But yeah, like reach out to us. We're happy to like, let us know what's wrong at work. Like, what aren't you happy about? What do you want to change? And we can just kind of like start from there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely want to help you guys do something and make a change. So if you guys are all for it, please text us, and we're more than happy to help. Thank you so much, Taylor, for joining me on this live. I hope everybody that was here enjoyed it, learned something, and will definitely want to join the movement. Please, we appreciate it.
Yeah, you didn't already. We'll see if you do. So yeah.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great day.